some people need, and I needed someone to believe in me. Because for so long I didn't believe in myself. How can I expect someone else to believe in me? But then when you get, and you want to talk about the perfect storm for my life, not only did the first company do that, but the second company did that. And they give you that confidence of like, we believe in you, do what you do. We support you, we're behind you, just go out and be you. And with that confidence and with that ability to just be myself and allow my work ethic to speak volumes.
All right, here we are, season 3, episode 2.
Yep.
Erica,
Good morning.
Good morning. And our guest today is Cody Knuckles. Welcome, Cody.
Hey, thank you
Cody.
so much for having me here. It's an honor.
Yeah, we're excited to get into this conversation with you. You have a unique perspective that we're going to learn about, but we're excited to keep digging down this path of understand like what drives people to participate really in visions, missions, purpose, different things. So yeah, excited for today.
Yeah, I'm excited to just have a conversation this so far. I mean, we've done one episode of the season so far, but that was really, really fun. And just getting to, learn about what makes people tick, and talking about the grind and what makes people keep going. Like we talked about a little bit last time, there's so much publicity out there with, all these 30 under 30 lists and 40 under whatever. And there's so much attention and, focus and attention on, kind of those definitions of success. But the vast majority of us are just out here grinding and work. As my daughter said when she was little, I'm just living through it, so we're just, and people look, you see somebody from the outside and it looks like, man, they got everything I want, they got everything, they seem to have everything all in place, but there's so many, that depth underneath that goes so much deeper. And from what I know of your story, that is certainly the case for you. So I'm excited to dive into that.
Yeah. It's going to be a good time getting into this. So we took time to kind of listen to your story. You've been on other podcasts. You are traveling all over the place and sharing your story, and it really is an inspirational one. And so we want to touch through that. You're going to have to use that, I'm sure, but we'll make sure we link that story in another podcast in the comments so people can take that in fully. But yeah, let's start. Let's just get to know Cody a little bit. Who is Cody Knuckles? What do you do? What's your world, family, all that?
Sure. Man, Cody Knuckles in 2025 is a lot different than who I was, say 2016, 2015. But yeah, I'm a plumber from Midwestern Indiana.
Okay.
Bless it. Married, got a little girl. Honestly, never thought I'd be where I'm at today with kind of where I came from. And I think it's really interesting. The topic, we've had a chance to speak on a little bit, but what a question. Like, what does make people tick?
Yeah.
And it's interesting. So yeah, it's just.
So plumber from the Midwest, married, you've got a daughter.
Yep. 2-year-old daughter.
2-year-old daughter. And you say your life is different today than it was. And that's going to be relevant, I think, to our conversation. And we definitely want to go there a little bit. And I'm going to let Erica lead that part because we do know each other, right? Sure. We are friends and have a different relationship. So I hope, Erica, you just drive wherever you want to go with that. But let's talk about your role. I know you're a plumber in an organization. You work for Summers.
Yep. Summers Plumbing, Heating, Cooling.
Summers Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. What is your role there, and how long have you been there? Talk us through that a little bit.
Yeah. So, been a plumber for almost 7 years. Been at Summers for 3.
Okay.
Started out as just a regular service tech. Recently, I've switched into a sales service supervisor role. So I have about 40 guys underneath me in 5 different locations that my job is just to kind of mentor, walk them through, and just kind of help them understand more of the importance of overall fixing solutions rather than band-aiding.
Mm.
That makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's great context too, and we want to give that context to our listeners because you leading for number one, leading 40 people is a challenge all its own.
Sure.
Now you're going multi-site, and you have 5 locations. You said
Correct.
across what size a region?
Oh, so probably 75 miles,
Yeah,
give or take.
so inconvenient enough
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
challenge you as a leader.
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
Yeah,
For
so
sure.
you know some
Man.
challenges as a leader and your experience. So it's really good context for our conversation.
Yeah. You seem like a pretty laid back kind of guy. Are you like that as a leader? Like, how would you describe your leadership style?
Yeah, honestly, I kind of pride myself with what you see is what you get.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty even keel, pretty laid back. I've learned that if I can stay even tempered and even emotioned, it seems to help and rub off on a lot of the guys that I work with. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm that way at home as well.
Yeah.
Not a ton frazzles me. I just
Yeah.
kind of go with the flow.
Yeah.
Have you always been that way? Is that who Cody is, or is that who Cody's become?
I think it's more who I've become.
Mm.
I don't think I was like that as much when I was younger. A lot of life happened,
Mm.
and overall, you just learn to adapt. And it's just where I'm at today is grateful, man. I don't really have a lot to be
Yeah. I feel like that shows a
up or
lot of
down or
like a deep inner peace
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, for sure.
to be able to lead in that environment and still have this sort of cool, calm, collected, and be intentional about that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have, as a leader in the organization that you're in, you have to have pressures on you, right? That some would succumb to, maybe, or act differently or drive harder.
Sure.
What talk about that a little bit? Do you feel that pressure, and how do you process that?
So definitely pressure, but I guess I've learned to appreciate that pressure comes in a lot of different shapes and sizes.
Mm.
And what I've been able to do, I think, is really be able to bottle that pressure.
Mm.
And in the beginning, when I got into these type of roles and when I first took on the position really before this one, I would allow myself to allow the pressure to take over.
Mm.
And then with that was a spiral
Mhm.
in the wrong direction. You really have to learn to take that pressure and make the most of it. And to be able to do that in the role I'm in now, if I start to get overwhelmed or stressed out or allow anxiety to creep in, then the guys that are underneath me are going to feel that.
Mm.
They're going to see that. And being able to just kind of bottle that up, like I was saying, and just show them that at the end of the day, we're blessed in all aspects. We have a job and most of us
Mhm.
have families, and
Mm.
work is it's an important piece of our life, but it's not who we are.
Mm.
So if you can get through to the guys that it's just like, man, it's one day at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't let the pressure of having to hit X, Y, or Z really affect who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just kind of go with it and rely on self,
Mm-hmm.
that it's all going to work itself out.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that, just focusing on one day at a time, right? That's where that anxiety sets in when you start thinking about, oh, what's ahead? What's next week? What's next month? Then that starts to creep in. And it's easy to go there when you're
Mm-hmm.
got goals and tasks. And
I think it's super easy to go there,
Yeah.
especially when you're at a company the size of ours per se, and you have an overall goal for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have a goal for your team. You have a number or an amount that you're setting out for weekly, monthly, and end of the year. But if you let yourself focus on that end of the year, that large number,
Mm-hmm.
too much, too early, then it's super easy to lose focus of the day to day. When I first got into the role and I'm a very goal oriented, goal focused person, it did not take me long to realize that if if I focused too hard and too long at something like that, there was other areas of my life that were taking that effect.
Mm.
Whether it be marriage, home life, friendships,
Right.
Yeah.
I had to really put into perspective that I can control not what's around me, but I can control how I react,
Mm-hmm.
and I can control myself on a
Yeah.
day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
With some big lessons right there in
I
that. And
know.
we're gonna go deep. I want to stay just right here for a second because I want our audience to capture a little bit of your last 7 years.
Sure.
Really. Right. So 7 years, you've been a plumber. You were given that opportunity, which we'll get to a little bit later when you give a flyover of kind of
Yeah.
pre-plumbing. But 7 years you were being a plumber, just tracking the math. 7 years as a plumber, 3 years at the organization you're with.
Yep.
And now you're leading 40 people.
Sure.
So you go from hands-on plumbing, right? Let's talk about that first 4 years. What were you doing as a plumber in the first 4 years?
Man.
You didn't want me to ask that, did you?
Yeah.
But I know the answer, Cody.
What? Right. It's great. Life is interesting, right? So without getting too much into the background, I had nothing. I didn't have goals, ambitions, a license,
Wow.
my own place.
Mhm.
I didn't have work boots. I mean, I didn't really have anything in life to speak on. And at the time, I'm roughly 32 years old. And I made a decision prior to that the life that I had led was not going to be the life that I was going to continue to lead.
Mm-hmm.
So there was an opportunity, and I had no ambitions and no desire and no want to. Didn't even really know what plumbers did other than what I've seen on TV and
Wow.
Super Mario Brothers, right?
So you,
Right.
you never plumbed.
Never.
All right.
And no clue.
Okay.
And, I reached out, applied for a position, and it just so happens the position was open, and it hadn't been for 23 years.
Oh my
So
gosh.
timing's also extremely important in certain areas.
Mm.
And when I took the position years ago, I started as the greenest of the green. I had no experience, no nothing, but I had made a decision that I started as a drain cleaner. So all I did was literally all day long, I cleaned clogs from sinks to toilets to tubs. It didn't matter. My job was to get drains flowing. And it didn't take me very long to realize not many people are probably A, cut out, but B, wanted to.
Mhm.
Not many people wanted to do the dirty part of an already dirty profession.
I don't
Right.
want to.
That's a tough job.
Yeah.
I mean, I've tried to do that myself, and
Sure.
yeah, man, that is not
And
not
you don't,
fun.
we don't think about it.
Yeah.
You don't think about hair and grease and just random things you don't think about. But what I told myself in a conversation that I had with my now wife is like, not only am I going to do this, but I'm going to be the absolute best at this.
Yeah.
And it was an easy decision for me at the time. It wouldn't have been easier a couple years prior to that. But I'm like, if not many people are in this profession, and the ones that are in it are doing it for a means to an end, they're doing it for a paycheck, how do I use that to my advantage? And
Interesting.
I decided to dive head in and not let stuff get to me. And I had a phenomenal teacher at the time that had a few years of experience as well. And he opened up the playbook and was just like, this is how I do it. Take what you can from me, but do what you want on your own. And he allowed me to grow. And I dove head in, man. And, a few short years later, the experience from that company allowed me to get in with a much larger company. Because the company I was at, there was two of us. It was the entire company.
Yeah, okay.
So
no wonder it was closed for 23 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it makes a lot of sense, right? But the door that opened from those experiences and from me taking it serious and from honestly somebody taking a chance
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
on me, I told myself I wasn't going to let them down, but most importantly, for the first time, I wasn't going to let myself down.
That's good.
So that door opened, and it didn't take long, right around 2.5 years, and I got the promotion, and
So
here we are.
when you started then with Summers,
Yep.
you started in a drain cleaning role or different?
I did. So Summers didn't have a drain department, really.
Mm.
It's a very interesting profession. Plumbers, if you don't know, most plumbers don't want to drain clean, and most drain cleaners aren't plumbers.
Oh,
So it's a very interesting
I
concept.
didn't realize there was the role was isolated like that.
Yeah.
I just assumed
So-
it was one and the same.
Yeah, I think we all do, and it is in a sense. Drains are part of plumbing 100%,
Mm-hmm.
but it has over time evolved to where you have entire companies that only do drain cleaning,
Oh, wow.
and you have companies that don't touch drain cleaning, but then you
Interesting.
have companies that do it all because it's technically all plumbing.
So part of your opportunity was to build out, taking on, sounds like you had an incredible teacher, mentor,
Yeah.
who said, the playbook's open.
Yep.
Learn from me. You took that on as a personal challenge, plus saying the idea of, I'm going to do this with pride and integrity, not just a means to an end.
Yeah.
And so you learn something, and then we're able to take that value to essentially build out a department.
Yeah.
Is that right?
No, it's 100% correct. But before that, one of the toughest things I had to do was have that conversation with that mentor.
Oh yeah. Let's
Oh.
walk through that. What was that?
When you talk about the human element of it, how do you have a conversation with someone that is not only a mentor, that has become family,
Mm-hmm.
a best friend in a sense, that took the chance that no one had took on you, and you have to have a conversation with someone that looks like, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you, but I also have to do what's right for myself. And that's a tough
Yeah.
thing to do. And it takes a even tougher person to receive that
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and wish you the best. And knowing that the majority of everything you know was taught by that person. And that person willingly and open arms said, lack of a better words, fly.
Mm-hmm.
Do what you got to do.
Incredible.
So I get over to Summers, and what an opportunity, because when I got there, they kind of came in and I had a skill set, and even as large of a company as they were, they were like, what do you need?
Hmm.
What do you need? Let's hit the ground running. You let me know what you're comfortable with and what you need, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
And it didn't take long at all, and success followed, and able to be where I'm at now.
I got to hear what question's going through your head. You
No.
always have the better question.
Whatever.
What are you
It's fine.
thinking?
No, I think it's incredible that I mean, you went from not knowing anything about plumbing or drain cleaning or anything to being like the best in the business. Let's just say that. And so then you go to Summers, and they are willing to let you have this opportunity and give you this free, like, it sounds like freedom to be like, hey, we see this talent and this skill set in you, and we're going to let you just be you and tell us what you need.
Yeah. I mean, you're exactly spot on. And I think for someone like me, my personality, growing up like I grew up, single parent household, no father figure, that type of thing, some people need, and I needed, someone to believe in me,
Mm-hmm.
because for so long I didn't believe in myself. How can I expect someone else to believe in me?
Yeah.
But then when you get, and you want to talk about the perfect storm for my life, not only did the first company do that, but the second company did that. And they give you that confidence of like, we believe in you. Do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
We support you. We're behind you. Just go out and be you. And with that confidence and with that ability to just be myself and allow my work ethic to speak volumes,
Mm-hmm.
the doors that opened were just
Yeah, even through
tremendous.
that, did you have like that feeling of imposter syndrome or that feeling of just, maybe I don't know if I can do this or any of those little like things that sneak into your head and start to like neat, neat, neat.
So it's funny. On the way here, we were talking a little bit, and I was talking about one of the hardest things for me right now is trying to instill confidence in the guys that I have in myself.
Yeah.
And I use the reference of the analogy of like it's hard to teach athleticism. Coaches always say you can't teach natural athletic ability.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that way with confidence. Like, how do I instill something into someone that may not be natural?
Yeah.
And when you say that out loud and talking about it, it's so wild to me that I'm where I'm at today because yeah, it's been a fun ride the last, 6, 7 years, right? But prior to that, and even 3 or 4 years into sobriety and where I'm at today, like I had the worst confidence because I allowed the enemy to just constantly speak on, you're not worthy, you're a criminal, you're a felon, you did all these things. So yeah, you talk about the struggle of understanding who you are and who you're called to be.
Mm.
It doesn't take much to fall back in that rut of not feeling like you belong
Right.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Do you think it's hard to hold the line and not go over the line to I deserve this, I'm entitled to this, I'm better than most? Like, can you go from one extreme to the other? Is that a part of the challenge?
Not being able to speak for everyone, I don't know. For me, 100%. I think it's a roller coaster of you allow your emotions at times to, how do I say, if you operate on feelings, you're going to be in trouble
Mm,
because people are going to feel any type of way. What you
Mm-hmm.
have to be able to separate is reality. What is the actual situation you're in?
yeah.
Not I feel this way. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like you did this, or I feel like I'm this. You have to really be able to sit back and analyze and be like, is that feeling valid?
Mm-hmm.
Or is
Sure.
that just a solid emotion?
Yeah. Is it even true?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it's really important. What you've discovered is to be really present and to be really grounded in the moment.
Yeah.
Because I can see, it's so easy to get in your head and start to kind of float away on feelings and you feel one way or another about something and to just start to escape into that. But you seem to have discovered how to really ground yourself and come back to reality and
Do you think a part of that was a part of the playbook that
Hmm.
your teacher, your mentor opened to you? Was
Yeah.
it more than just plumbing? That's what I'm asking.
100%. And I would even go as far as saying plumbing was a very small part of that.
Hmm.
He was able to and allowed me to really learn who I was. And he was like, able to speak into that for good or bad. And so many people, I'm learning this more and more. So many people are so closed off, so close minded. And if you don't allow, and it's hard because you have to be vulnerable, right? You have to be able to drop your guard and you have to be able to understand that you don't know everything and that
Mm.
your feelings may not always be super valid.
Yeah.
And I had to give somebody permission to speak into my life for good or bad.
Mm.
I had to get to a point to
Interesting.
where I'm okay with the good that's going to come from that and the accountability that's going to come from that.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And you mean by closed off, like just being closed off to receiving that type of
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
critique and feedback and input?
How many people struggle with taking criticism,
Yeah.
constructive or unconstructive, or just in general? Nobody, it's not natural for us to have somebody tell us that we're not doing something right or that we should do something this way or that way.
Sure.
It's not a natural thing for a lot of people. So I had to give somebody permission
Mm-hmm.
to get to know me on a level that not many people do, and that
Mm.
was also able to hold me on my bull crap, to
Mm.
call me on that. And when
Yeah.
I was being emotional, or if I was wrong and he felt that I was wrong,
Mm-hmm.
tell me that. And then you have to be able to receive that.
Right.
It's one thing to give somebody permission. I can tell you, yeah, call me on this or let me know I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
something wrong. But
Mm.
when that person does that, how do you respond?
Right. What do you
Right.
do with it? Yeah.
And that's a whole different can of worms and piece of growth
Man,
that myself had
Mm.
to really swallow.
I know that
So,
when because we're coming back to this, but I want to make sure we close the story on like it. You started a department, like what
Yeah.
you've been able to achieve by what sounds like being vulnerable, being willing to be taught, to be corrected,
Yeah.
right? And what comes from that. And then we're going to come back to this really human stuff because that's where we want to sit. But you went on then, we'll shorten this up, and then I want you to give a flyover of your journey.
Sure.
And maybe 5
yeah, the
minute
audience is
flyover.
probably like, what is going
On
on?
the
You keep
edge of their
mentioning this.
seat.
Yeah.
So when we think of this, you start this department, then you get an opportunity to move into a different role where you're doing sales in the organization.
Yep.
And you told me in our pre-recording conversation that you set every record possible
Hmm.
in the company. Most sales in a month, most sales in a week, most sales in a month, most sales in a year.
Yeah.
And that then
Wow.
afforded you the opportunity to now lead a team of 40 guys over 5 locations. And now you're in the position really of teacher, of mentor.
Yeah.
And now you're up against the challenge of how do you get 40 guys essentially to be willing to be corrected, to be taught, to be
Yeah.
inspired, all those things that you were. But I don't want us to sweep past that story, Ben. You've done an incredible thing. And then we're gonna bookend that with your why you shouldn't be doing that.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Because man, when we get that part of it, it's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So in
Right.
7 years, you went from drain cleaner to starting a department to sales to leading sales and breaking records.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit.
Wild.
Hmm.
A wild ride. Again, the still at times it doesn't even seem like real. The journey was, I don't want to say it was easy by any means, but when you come from nothing and when you come from where I came from, getting just even the ability to have the opportunity to do something, starting the department, kind of my own drain cleaning area, was super humbling, and it was an awesome experience. And I took it and I ran with it. And then I got the opportunity through that. It kind of was a direct correlation into the sales role. And then treating people the right way and doing the right thing and having integrity and learning to be able to have a tough conversation without worrying too much about the outcome, and just knowing that if I'm doing the right thing and I'm having the right conversations about whatever the issue is, and then I allow someone else to make a decision on that, and being okay with that, ultimately afforded me the position that I'm in now. And it even has, in just a short few months, I started with 8 or 9 guys. There was 2 of us that kind of split the role, and I kind of focused in my area of expertise, which is drains and drain cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
My partner, he got a different position shortly after we took it, and all of a sudden now I'm kind of thrust into the role of every single person in
Oh,
all
wow.
5.
Mhm.
So
Hmm.
it's just really, it's
Yeah.
really cool. And, the people that have been on this journey with me longer than 7 years, that kind of knew where I came from and who I was to where I am now. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah. Well, let's get that part of the story, and then let's go. Once we get the full context, I think, of Cody, what I want to do is talk through the challenges, like what drives a human, right? Let's talk in generalities almost. I
Sure.
think there's a lot you can teach us in like what makes a person tick? Like
Yeah.
how do you do that? What does it look like to be in that environment, but also to lead it? So
Mhm. Yeah, I think if you could tell us who Cody was, growing up, you
Sure.
kind of alluded to it a little bit that you really came from nothing. So yeah, tell us just a little bit about your background.
Yeah. Quick rundown, I guess. I grew up small town, single family home, didn't have a father in the picture, was raised by my mom, my grandma. Had a had a football, had an injury in high school, 3-sport athlete. It was my senior year, had a broke a foot. Ended up putting some bone from my hip into my foot. I had a
Oh my
surgery for the
goodness.
first time in my life. What that door opened was opiates, and I was prescribed pain medication that I'd never really knew anything about. My mom working 2 jobs, she wasn't around to really monitor that, and she never really thought she had to. Those 2 bottles of pills kinda put me on a path that I would have never dreamed of or never imagined. It didn't take long after that. By 19, I was in jail for the first time for burglary. By 20, I was in prison for the first time. I ended up spending right around 11 and a half, almost 12 years incarcerated in the Indiana Department of Corrections,
um,
multiple facilities. I would get out and I would go back and I would get out and I would go back. And it wasn't till 2017 that kind of everything changed for me. And I had an encounter and it was in those dark times that I reached out and I was serious about it. And everything that man couldn't do, no rehabs, no AAs, no NAs, nothing I did or nothing I tried or no one that tried to be there for me worked. Nothing worked. An encounter with God in 2017 that wrecked me in a literal millisecond.
mm,
And that morning on that floor, since then, it erased 12 years of addiction. And I never had a relapse. I never had, after the first couple weeks of withdrawals, never had cravings, never had, it's just a wild story. It's a wild ride, but to come from to come from that, and we alluded to it a little bit earlier, I was a lot more high strung. I was a lot more angry. You have to keep your emotions in check when you're incarcerated and you're in prison, especially some of the prisons I was in. You're not really allowed to show weakness or
Mhm.
show emotion because people prey on that.
mm,
So I had to learn how to bottle that anger and bottle those emotions. And I hid them for so long that you get to a point to where you can no longer hide those things. And that anger that you've suppressed for so long is going to come out in one way or another. And
Yeah.
when I finally got sober and I got back home in 2018, and I really just, those experiences, I hated having to go through that, and I don't wish it upon anyone, and
Mhm.
it sounds cliche, but genuinely, without that, I would not be who I am or where I am, or I wouldn't have the family. I wouldn't have the career I have. I wouldn't have any of that. I
Mhm.
had to be molded into that to allow myself to be able to process and to be able to learn to set down and
Mhm.
learn that my opinion's not the only opinion.
mm.
Mm.
And everything
Well,
happens for a reason, and here we are all these years later.
Crazy. Yeah, I was just imagining like coming out of that, and you've got that all behind you, and you're at that moment where you're just sort of sitting in it. I imagine there was a point where you were like just a mountain of things coming at you, facing all of the choices that you've made and all of the decisions and all of the things that have happened over the last, prior to that.
Yeah.
How did you get through that? Like, what was your mindset and how did you face all of that and sit through that and come out of that? Like, what was the thing that allowed you to turn around?
Sure. I'd 100% be lying if I said it was easy or,
Yeah.
everyone does it, because unfortunately statistics show that not many people come out the other end
Yeah.
successfully.
Well,
The
even in
recidivism rate is,
your journey, you came out and went back
Yeah.
yeah,
and came out
multiple
and
times.
went back.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not even just you didn't, you did
Yeah.
Mhm.
until you didn't.
I'm
Yep.
just thinking of the time element, like the way you describe it, what that timing, I'm sure it took a while to really, get to a point where you felt like you could take steps forward or
Sure.
just curious.
No, it's a great question. I think one of my biggest struggles in those moments was mental health.
Mhm.
You have to you have to be able to be mentally tough enough to go through some of those things. There's things that I've seen and that I'll never be able to shake, and I'll never be able to forget some of those things that I witnessed and seen. But
Mhm.
in the moment, you don't realize what's going on, right?
Mhm.
For me, I'm faith based 150%, and everything I do is faith based. I don't expect everyone to have to do that, or maybe it's not for everyone. I don't know the answer to that, but I didn't know how I did it when I was doing it.
Mm.
I don't know what made me wake up every day when you're facing 16 years in prison.
Yeah.
I don't know
Hmm.
what keeps someone pushing in the moment, right? But now I can look back and understand that through that entire journey, there was someone there with me. And even when I couldn't think about doing certain things, I did them.
Mhm.
And
Hmm.
I don't think you appreciate it. I don't think I appreciated what that looked like until I got a better appreciation of who he is.
Mm.
So there was moments where I spent 6, 7, 8 months consecutive in solitary confinement. And for those of us that don't know, that's a 6 by 8 foot cell with no windows, a single door. You get 1 hour out of your cell. It's 23-hour lockdown. You get 1 hour out of your cell a day. Looking back at that, it's like, I have no idea
Mm.
how myself or people that are in that situation stay mentally tough enough
Mhm.
Mhm.
through those moments. But it's also such a blessing that it's so far behind me that it's real,
Mhm.
but it's so far in the past that it's almost not real.
Yeah, do you feel like when you look back on that, it's like a different person, a different, like a whole different human being? Do you
Yeah,
you're
no,
like,
you're 100% correct. My wife and I talk about it all the time. She knows me. She knows me now.
mhm,
She knows who I was called to be. She had no idea who I was
Mhm.
prior to 2019 when we met.
mhm,
I had close to 2 years sobriety, and I was a little more better off. I had clothes and I had a job, and I was still living at home, but she and most people have no idea who that person was. So,
Mm.
yeah, it's
I
wild.
think it's a good leaping off point to kind of dive into some discussion. Just like we all three have a lot of experience and perspective, and I think it would be a really cool discussion to talk about human resilience, like
mm,
this mentality that it takes to grow. So if I can, I'm going to set that up. And for those of you who are listening, again, Cody's full story is linked in the comments below, and you can watch his full story and listen to him share the depth and detail of that on Escaping the Chains podcast. Please follow through and look at that. But today we want to take that little nugget, right? You shared kind of your experience. I mean, let's just frame it in a different light. If you had gone into the military and served in, say, in the Marines and were deployed for 18 months and saw action and saw this stuff, you come back and you are conditionally different.
Yep.
Right? That's called PTSD. We're all familiar with that. We're talking about an 18-month period to experience intense stress.
Yep.
You served almost 12 years of your life incarcerated, told what to do, when to do it, how to do it. and your life essentially was contained in a room that was concrete block walls, steel bunk, small sink that happens to be attached to the toilet, which is disgusting, right? If you've
Pretty
never
rough.
seen the inside of a prison cell, get out and experience something in your life. But that for that long, right? As you said, you're not allowed to show weakness. So this is the equivalent when we think about human development. This is the equivalent of your developmental years being exposed to things like abuse and trauma, because it sets you up to, like, it's really hard to change to those things. And you had already described to us that part of where your journey is the willingness to be corrected, to be directed, to be taught. And that is not just a little bit different from what you were.
Yeah.
It is the exact opposite
Hmm.
of what you were. So that's where I would like to I
Yeah.
just want us to have a discussion about, what does it look like? How does a person become humble enough? How do they become focused enough? I don't know what the thing is, right?
Hmm.
To to be different,
Yeah.
right? That's kind of what I would like to lean into. So I'm curious, what do you think? And I don't want to suspend the God piece, right?
No.
It's important to you and your story and your journey. It's important to us and equally. But maybe let's start there. Can we start there?
Sure. Why
Let's
not?
start. You said you talked about your wife, that she could see who you were called to be. What do you mean by called? What does that mean? I think this gets thrown out in
Mm.
society a lot. I was called to this. Whether you're a believer, religious, or faith oriented or not, people use this.
Sure.
When you talk about that, what do you mean by called to be versus the opposite?
I think the quick version of it is I had to realize that I was a son and I didn't have a dad.
Mm.
Hmm.
So when I realized that I was called son, regardless if I had a earthly father or not in the picture, and then by realizing that I had a title that
Mhm.
wasn't just Cody, it allowed me to start to understand who I was. And it allowed me to really self-reflect and self-analyze and question. It's natural to wonder, like, why did these things happen? How did I let this get here? How did it, nobody sets out to get addicted. No one, the
Right.
first time you use something, your goal is not to become an addict or whatever the situation is. But when I say who I'm called to be, I'm referring to the son that I was called to be, and the leader that we are all, that's inside all of us.
Mhm.
And by finding myself, I was able to put together a ton of different pieces. I think I had to find out my why.
Mm.
Why did I get sober? Why do I do this? Why do I do that? For so long, I tried to do all these things for everyone else.
Mm.
And I thought to myself that if I can get sober and stay out of prison for my mom or for my grandma
Mm.
or for my friends, that I'll be able to be a better person. They'll be able to trust me again. But it wasn't until I understood that my why had to be for me.
Mm.
Mm.
And once I started to fix me, all of those other things that I would struggle and I would start to get anxiety about, and I would start to feel depressed because I couldn't please 50 people at once. Once I realized that all I had to do was fix one thing to fix everything, it changed the entire trajectory of everything around me. So I think we are all called to be some type of a leadership, whether it's in our home or whether it's at our workplace or in our family.
Mhm.
And I just knew that I was meant to do something other than be a drug addict and a felon and I just had to find what that was.
It's really interesting, Erica. He said something, I've never thought of it this way, but it's almost like we use this term that I was called to blank.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that you framed it is you realized I'm a son. You started there. I'm a son. And it's almost like, what am I called?
Mm.
Who am I called? And then you're talking about exploring that. And I'm going to kick it back over here to Erica. I'm just curious from a female perspective, is that part of this? Like just almost like calling, suspending purposeful design, right? From a creator. Is it as simple as understanding part of who I'm called is daughter?
Mm.
And does that require different actions of you? I've never thought about this before. I'm just curious. I've heard
Yeah.
kind of the sun side of it. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. It just kind of makes me think of how the roles work together. You know, you mentioned your wife, you're in a two-person, two adult household right now, and you both are leaders in different ways. And I assume, complement each other or,
Yeah.
do different things. And so I don't know. Yeah, that's a great question. It also, as you were talking, it made me think of something I've heard you say before in the podcast that we're linking to, but that you felt loved. And I'm sure your mom and your grandmother loved you. I'm sure you've had people in your life that love you, but to feel that level of unconditional
Yeah.
love and being in that role is huge, that's significant. So I was just sort of putting myself in your shoes to imagine that moment where you felt like you had value, and I don't know if you had felt that way in the same way before, like kind of where you were just what changed with that and how that kind of influenced your sense of being and feeling that sense of belonging as a son, it's like you suddenly realized your place.
Yeah. No, great question. The only thing I've been able to compare it to, I'm assuming, I think you referenced a child,
Mhm. I have two daughters.
2 daughters.
So,
That's
so good
awesome.
luck. You have a 2-year-old. Mine are teenagers.
There you
She
go.
said, good luck.
Buckle up.
Buckle up.
Everyone says like when you have a kid, it's such a different, you love your spouse,
Mm,
you love your husband or you love your wife, and you would do anything for them. But it's a different emotion and a different feeling when you have that child.
yeah, for sure.
I only have one. I don't know if you get that same type of feeling each kid. I imagine it's the exact same thing, but you can't describe that. Like so many people told me, just wait,
Yeah,
just wait. You can't put it into words. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm sure, whatever,
yeah,
bud. And
Mm.
and it was an instant, immediate. You would do anything in the world to protect that little
yeah,
being. It's the closest thing I can describe to in that moment when I kind of came to on that floor. It was the first time in my life that I knew whatever I had done didn't matter.
Hmm.
And it is so weird to even talk about. And I've been blessed, man. I've been able to travel this country and speak
hmm
to high school and college kids literally throughout the entire country. And nothing compares to that moment, that first moment of the unconditional love that I felt.
hmm
And in addiction, you chase that high.
mm
You're looking for that first high and you constantly chase it and you'll never, ever, ever gonna find it.
hmm
The thing about this is I didn't need it again.
Hmm.
Like that instant, that immediate love that I felt in that moment
hmm
of knowing, like I just knew that I knew that I knew that everything was okay. And being in prison at the time and like having nothing at 30 years old, and nothing to go to and nothing to be able to explain to someone in that moment that I knew I was going to be okay.
hmm
It even sounds silly talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
But unlike anything else I've ever experienced, I haven't needed that feeling again.
Mm.
It's not that I'm chasing, it's just I know it's there.
Yeah.
It's hard to even describe.
What role are you living into now? Right? We talk about you were called son, you realized I'm
Yeah.
a son, and then you became a husband, and then a father, a coworker. Like there's all kinds of roles that you're called now.
Yeah.
What one are you living into now?
What a question. I think the role I'm in right now and that I want to be in and I don't think I could be anywhere else is authentic.
Hmm.
I want to live above reproach, but I also want people to know that I'm not just this way when you see me on a Sunday, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just this way when you see me in a meeting on Tuesday morning,
On a podcast.
or
Right.
or in a sales meeting or anything, right? Like
Hmm.
I want people to realize that we can be authentic. We can be who we are and who we're called to be 24 hours a day and 7 days a week.
Mm.
And if we can tap into that, and if we can lead by example
Mm-hmm.
in all facets of life, not just at the workplace or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
that I had to see Todd Dalton live what he was preaching and not preaching from a pulpit, live what he was speaking on.
Mm-hmm.
While he was clearing a drain.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Had to have it. And even in a scenario like cleaning a drain and you're dealing with some of the nastiest stuff you can imagine, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
I had a perception for so long that every single person was hypocrites in some way, shape, or form.
Mm.
Everyone had an angle, and it was, what can you do for me, and what have you done lately, and how can I get over? And Todd was the first man that I was able to watch the process.
Yeah.
And he didn't even realize what he was doing.
Mm.
And he'll probably, and we're still close, and I love him to death, and I tell him how much I appreciate him from time to time, and he'll never understand fully, him and his father, him and Gary, they'll never know the role they played in my life fully. I can tell them,
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
and they have an idea that they were part of the story, right?
Yeah.
But they'll never understand. I had to have them in my life to become authentic,
Mm-hmm.
to become who I am today. I would not be here without a question, without two men like that didn't just talk the talk,
Mm-hmm.
but they were able to walk that walk unknowingly.
Yeah.
Didn't even mean to do it. It was just who they are.
And how much imagine the trust you have with them as well to be able to take down those walls and be able to even invite that level of vulnerability in and be able to receive that. Like, I mean, that's really a testament to them and their character and the way that they lead and live their lives for you to be able to see that.
I just wonder how many people like myself spent multiple years incarceration and multiple years having to put on a tough persona and act like you're someone that you're not, just in order to survive. Because in certain prisons in Indiana and across the country, it's 100% what it is. It's survival.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pecking order, and you don't want to be at the bottom of that. And you, over time, unbeknowingly, you build up a wall, and you build up a persona that stuff doesn't matter and stuff doesn't bother you, and you're just this tough guy. And I had to have someone like that
Mm-hmm.
let me know that it's okay to cry. It's okay to open up. It's okay to talk about being frustrated or sad or share your joys.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing and what I've been able to implement in the role I'm in now, even at work, is we celebrate everything. I don't just celebrate a huge sale, or I don't just celebrate your birthday. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I want to celebrate every small victory that we have throughout the day. Because if we can start to celebrate and appreciate all those small things, something as simple as we woke up, wow, what a blessing, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
You get to work on time. Gosh, it's awesome.
Mhm.
And I even get to this day, well, like, how are you gonna applaud someone for doing what they're supposed to do? I mean, I guess that's a good question, right? But you have to have a viewpoint of where I came from to be able to
Mhm.
appreciate certain things.
Yeah.
Everyone has a story, but I can appreciate getting up for work. I can
Mhm.
appreciate somebody getting to work on time.
Yeah.
I can appreciate all of the
Mhm.
small things and celebrate
Mhm.
those victories, because the other thing that we don't know what someone else is going through.
Mhm.
Right.
We don't know the impact that a small kindness, a small thank you, or even
Mhm.
a smile,
Yeah.
we don't know what that can do for someone.
Yeah.
How many times do we take for granted the thought of even what someone else is going through?
Yeah.
It's really cool that you're living that out and being an opportunity then to kind of embody that to people because it was given to you.
Sure.
I think that goes right along with what we've been talking about the since we launched Leading Adam is the idea that you cannot offer that which you first don't possess.
Yeah.
Right? It was given to you and now you therefore can give it to others.
Right.
I want to ask you about authenticity. I think we get this confused a lot with, well, that's just me. And this is, I think, becomes a bit of a problem in how we operate with others, right? And so what do you say to the person who is there, right? I'm just being authentic, right? But there's a lot of character flaws
Yeah.
in that. Do you understand what I'm
Oh, yeah.
asking? What do you say to that person? What does it mean to be authentic when you're growing, you're changing, right? Authentic you 15 years ago would have been hard,
Completely
right?
different. Yep.
Cold. But
Mhm.
authentic you today is compassionate, affirming, tender,
Yeah.
right? Those aren't words you would have wanted said about you 15 years ago.
Not at
What
all.
do you say to those people? What does authenticity really look like? So, so in that, like, I think you understand what I'm saying. What do you say to that person who's just stuck there, right?
Yeah.
They're stuck in a place of non-growth, but they're just saying, "No, this is authentically me." What's the difference?
The difference and the hard piece about that, and I was there, is is mindset.
Hmm.
If that person believes that that's genuinely who they are, and the anger's okay, and that whatever the situation is authentic,
Hmm.
and they believe that, the trick to that is getting them to understand a different point of view, getting them to try to see again who they are really called to be. And I think that's one of the hardest things that we have in leadership is
Hmm.
getting people to understand who they are and not who they think they are. Because it's easy for any of us to put on a persona, or
Hmm.
we repetitiveness and we do the same things and it just becomes natural. So for certain people, anger is natural. For
Sure.
certain people, excuses and even lying and certain things like that become natural.
Hmm.
If you have somebody that continuously, and you just know that no matter what they're talking about, it's a lie,
Yeah.
and they lie about the silly things, and you watch them walk in at 7:35 and they say, no, I was here at 7:30.
Right.
That becomes authenticity to them.
Hmm.
But you have to try to figure out how to get them to understand not only how you see them, but how they have to see them.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and for them to be able to see more for them,
yeah,
right? And so much of this, I think it's because we settle, and it's almost like we convolute the conversation of authenticity by saying, "Well, I don't feel authentic because I'm not as brash as I used to be, so I've changed." Well, that's a natural occurrence of becoming really mature,
yeah,
right? A mature contributing member of society.
yep,
Somewhere along the lines we stop, but I think we've confused authenticity with say what you want, how you want, be who you want, and it's not really authentic.
no,
It's really immature,
correct.
right? And
That's
so
good. Yeah,
I think we got a lot of work to do to understand authenticity. The power of authenticity in the workplace, not only as an employee but as a leader, is almost unprecedented. What it produces in people. You can do all kinds of research on authentic leadership and what it produces in productivity and profitability and these kind of things. But I think we got a lot of work to understand authenticity.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to go there, because you said that's your role you're living into now.
Yeah.
And I think that you have a lot to share to help us understand differently. So we'll continue those conversations off camera.
Sure.
But I thank you for coming on and just sharing a little bit about your success. You know, that we really want to make this season, or maybe just the podcast in general, how do we have, not to play on the word, how do we have genuine and authentic conversations? Like
Yeah.
where they go, and not just interview people, right? But to hear kind of what you're wrestling with and to get your perspective. And I appreciate you participating in that.
It's been a pleasure. I just getting the opportunity to not really to share my story, which is what a lot of the podcasts, or even when I'm traveling and I'm speaking, it's really about my story and
Mhm.
and where I came from to where I am. But the opportunity to speak on who I am
Mhm.
and how I live my day-to-day life and what that looks like to others has been such a joy. And like you said, we've talked about it a little bit, but I always go back to, what is my why? And my why can change. I think your why can evolve. My why 7 years ago is not my why today.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I had to do and I had to keep at the forefront is that why.
Mm.
And the why shifts and the why changes and all those things, but if we can focus on that why
Mm.
and make that why not such a selfish why,
Mm.
but a genuine, authentic why.
Yeah.
And if you can keep that at the forefront, I think for myself personally, that was the recipe to lead me where I'm at today.
Mhm.
And without that why, that reason
Mhm.
for doing what I do, how I do it, I don't know.
I like what you said, that the why it changes.
Yeah.
I think we can miss that, starting with why is a popular one liner now after Simon's book, but it really is important. And in answering the question kind of that we're processing through, that keeps coming up, right? It's this, what drives a person to change, to engage, to get behind the work that's happening in front of them and be a positive contributor to
Yeah.
whatever that is, whether it's sales or, serving in a nonprofit, like the gamut. What drives that? And it does kind of come back to this purpose, right?
Yeah.
The why. What is the purpose of this? I want to ask a question to kind of wrap us out. You have such a unique perspective. And I want Cody Knuckles to speak to leaders, okay, in this way. Your words, you had nothing. You were nothing. You had basically the lowest of value to bring. And all of us as leaders have people in that mentality on our teams, right? Whether they've had your story or not,
Yep.
right? We look and go, you're the lowest performer. You're always late. You're whatever. Okay. So that's kind of the context. I want you to speak as from that position to a leader, and I want you to share, what does that leader need to keep in mind? What can that leader do to make a difference practically in those that they lead?
Great question. It's so easy for us as leaders to pick a favorite in a sense, right? Is that
Sure.
favorite a high performer? Is that favorite a friend? Whatever that look like, we have someone or multiple someones that it's easy for us to lead. They're very, very teachable.
Yeah.
How do we reach the ones that aren't teachable? And I think it's a multifaceted question, but I think what I try to do and what I would recommend others to do is get to know that person on more of a work related level. if we only get to see that person from 7 to 3 or 9 to 5 or whatever that looks like, and we're only having negative interactions, I ask myself, what am I doing for that person to want to follow me?
Yeah.
If I'm not able to get into the field in my area, if I'm not willing to do something that I'm going to ask someone else to do, if I come in on Monday in a good mood and come in Tuesday, I had a rough night at home and now I'm a jerk. Why would I expect anybody to change? Why would I expect anybody to go to bat for me or for this company or anything like that? So if I could just let people to know that there's something going on with all of us.
Yeah.
And if we would take the time to maybe get to know that person on a little bit of a more personal level and not just a work platonic level, then I think we would be shocked at what we could help to unlock in those other people.
Yeah. I love that. And I'm going to say it a little bit differently. I think what I hear you saying is, I know they're called employee, but what else are they called?
That's so
And if
good.
you can take a time as a leader to get to know that they're also called dad,
Yep.
mom, pastor, whatever they are, it's a matter of exploring that with them. And there's such a dynamic element to all of us, right?
Yeah.
But so many times we just are content that you're called employee and that's good enough. And it's not. I really appreciate you sharing that.
You know, touch on this really quickly. It's so interesting that learning who I was called to be has been so important in my life. When for 12 years I was called 188608.
Yeah.
The state of Indiana, I was nothing more than a DOC number. The Department of Corrections labeled me as 188608. And that's all I knew. For over a decade, that's all I knew is that's who I was. I was a number. The importance of genuinely finding out who you are and who you're really called to be will open doors that we've never imagined.
Yeah. Man, that's good. I will say this, Cody. I've been wanting to say this for probably the last 20 minutes. It was 188608. And the risk is now is that who you are to the world is just your story.
Yeah.
And what I've learned today is that you are more than your story. Like, you have so much to give. There's wisdom in you, there's knowledge in you, there's experience in you. And I definitely look forward to having you come back. Maybe we'll do a topic specific because there's so much to just unpack with you. But if I've learned anything today, it's that you're more than your story. And your story is incredible. Don't take that the wrong way.
Sure.
But man, you have so much to come forth still, and you're doing it. So thanks for being a leader you are. Thanks for joining us. To our audience, if you're watching the entire episode, Erica had to leave. As you guys know, she does have a full-time commitment. And again, we bumped up against that due to traffic constraints today. So Erica, we missed you in closing this out, but we'll catch you in the next episode. To those of you watching, thanks for staying with us. Thank you, Cody. Don't forget to catch Cody's full story by exploring the Escaping the Chains podcast link below. Have a good day.